Imagine a shooter that wasn't supposed to exist at all. A game born from firings, lawsuits, corporate betrayal, and the stubborn will of a few people who wanted to challenge the entire industry. This is Titanfall, a universe that rose from the ashes of the war between Electronic Arts and Activision. And to understand its story, you have to start at the moment when two legends, Vince Zampella and Jason West, were thrown out of Infinity Ward, the studio that created Call of Duty. Activision refused to pay them bonuses for the record-breaking success of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, accused them of secret negotiations with Electronic Arts, fired them, and sued them. But instead of disappearing, these two did the impossible. They founded Respawn Entertainment, the studio that would later create Titanfall, Titanfall 2, and Apex Legends. For the first 2.5 years, Respawn survived purely on passion. A small studio with little money, but with a single goal: to build a new type of shooter, faster, more dynamic, more vertical than anything that existed before. That's how the 3 pillars of Titanfall were born. Fire parkour, fire pilots, elite soldiers of the future, fire titans, multi-story machines with their own intelligence. It was an idea Activision would never have approved, but Respawn could afford to take the risk. When Titanfall launched, it became more than just a shooter, it became a revolution. Insane speed, perfect gunplay, AI grunts for momentum, seamlessly dropping into Titans. Players got an experience no other game had ever delivered. But the most important part, Titanfall created an entire universe. The war for the frontier, the conflict between the IMC and the militia, mechs, specters, future tech. And all of that was just the prologue to what would later become Titanfall 2 and the global Apex universe. To understand Titanfall, you have to understand the frontier, the distant colonies humanity discovered after a breakthrough in space technology. There they found a network of habitable worlds, and a new golden era began. People built cities, mining hubs, stations, and trading ports. But wherever there is gold, there is someone who wants to take it. The IMC, the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation, began as a mining company. Peaceful, legitimate. But over time it grew into a megacorporation, absorbing dozens of subsidiaries. Its goals became very simple. Fire extract resources. Fire expand territory. Fire control everything that generates profit. And one day, the IMC needed the resources of the frontier. But after 15 years without the corporation, people had grown used to freedom. The colonists built their own communities, armies, and cities. The frontier became a home they had no intention of surrendering. When the IMC returned, it didn't come to negotiate. It came with armies of specters, fleets, Atlas and Ogre-class Titans, top officers, mercenaries, and endless supply lines from the core systems. The frontier replied with what it had. Fire former soldiers. Fire miners with improvised weapons. Fire veteran pilots. Fire pirates. Fire mercenaries. Fire IMC defectors. This is how the Frontier Militia was born. Not a unified army, but a coalition of everyone who refused to fall back under corporate control. And so began a war where the forces were completely unequal. The IMC had billions of credits, Titan factories, artificial intelligences, and endless specters. The militia had people who understood only one thing: if they lost, the frontier would disappear. This was the conflict that shaped the entire Titanfall universe, and set the stage for the events of Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends. Pilots are the main reason Titanfall became a legend. They aren't soldiers. They are predators of the future. Every pilot goes through training that an ordinary fighter simply couldn't survive. Wall running, reflexes operating on pure instinct, reactions closer to animal than human. And most importantly, the ability to become one with a Titan. A Titan is not just a machine. It's a 2-story combat exoskeleton with an AI, a reactor, an adaptive system, and a library of tactics for any situation. But without a pilot, it's just metal. With a pilot, it becomes a living myth. That's why the moment Rifleman Jack Cooper gets his first chance to become a pilot is so crucial. He wasn't ready, wasn't trained, didn't pass certification. But the war on Typhon started sooner than anyone expected. And everything went wrong. The IMC meets the militia with overwhelming force. Spectre squads, heavy Titans, airborne frigates. And above all, Cuban Blisk's elite private army. The apex predators. Professionals who kill for credits, not ideals. The landing collapses. The dropship crashes. Infantry dies by the dozens. Pilots, by the handful. Cooper is left alone, without gear, without comms, with no chance of survival. But one miracle still happens. His commander, Ty Lastimosa, mortally wounded, transfers to Cooper the most valuable thing he had. Control of the Vanguard-class Titan BT, 7274. The Vanguard is a rare model. Smarter than standard units. Stronger. Equipped with advanced defensive protocols. This Titan is Cooper's last chance to live. And BT accepts him as the new pilot. Thus begins the partnership that will change the course of the war. Cooper, a rookie. BT, a veteran. But together, they become one of the most dangerous forces the frontier has ever seen. Cooper and BT's path leads them to the central point of the entire operation, the IMC research facility on Typhon. From the outside it looks abandoned. But inside, it's a rupture in reality. Space bends. Time flows in two directions at once. In one hallway, ashes and ruins. In the next, scientists who are still alive. This isn't a flashback. These are two timelines existing simultaneously. And this is where Major Anderson vanished. When Cooper finds his body fused into the ceiling, as if time crushed him between eras, one thing becomes clear. The IMC isn't experimenting with simple weapons. They're tampering with the foundation of reality itself. Among Anderson's remains, Cooper discovers a temporal device, a tool that lets him shift between past and present instantly. Now the pilot can fire dodge IMC fire by jumping into another era. Fire bypass sealed pathways. Fire witness what happened in the facility before the disaster. Fire piece together Anderson's investigation. And most importantly, learn the truth. The IMC uncovered an ancient artifact created by an unknown civilization. They studied it and built their own replica, the Fold weapon. This is not just a super weapon. It's a matter-destroying engine. One blast can erase a city. 2. An entire planet. And their first target is Harmony, the militia's homeworld. Everything on Typhon, the anomaly, the split timelines, the destruction, was just a prototype test. The real weapon is already being prepared for launch. Cooper and BT understand one thing. If they don't stop the IMC now, the frontier has no future. The signal is sent. The militia is on its way. And now Cooper and BT must do the most important thing. Intercept the Arc Core, the very heart of the Fold weapon capable of destroying a planet with a single strike. The IMC is already evacuating the core onto a massive ship, the Draconis. It's guarded by elite Titans, hundreds of Spectres, and the Apex Predators, the most dangerous private military unit in the galaxy, hired exclusively by the IMC. The race begins. Cooper and BT assault the base from the outside. The militia fleet is fighting in the sky. Every step forward costs blood. The IMC knows the value of what they're protecting. When the core is finally loaded onto the Draconis, Cooper does the impossible. He jumps onto the rising ship and fights across its outer hull. There he faces Viper, one of the strongest predators. A brutal duel, lightning, metal, explosions. But Cooper wins and reaches the cargo. The victory doesn't last long. The Draconis goes down. And in that moment BT makes his first sacrifice. He seals Cooper inside a protective capsule. When Cooper wakes up, he's surrounded by Apex Predators. And then, Blisk doesn't kill him. Instead, he respects him. He recognizes Cooper's strength as a pilot and tosses him his calling card. If you ever want to work, find me. Yes, that very card becomes the direct bridge into the world of Apex Legends. But the final fight still lies ahead. BT is restored. One last push. Destroy the Fold weapon. But when they try to shut down the rings, the core destabilizes, delivering fatal damage to BT. So BT makes his final decision. Directive 3. Protect the pilot. BT grabs Cooper, loads him into an improvised launch system, and throws him clear of the blast zone. Then BT drops into the heart of the Ark and detonates himself, destroying the IMC superweapon and saving Harmony. This is the end of BT, but not the end of Cooper. He becomes an official pilot, and his journey, from ordinary rifleman to frontier legend, becomes the foundation for everything that will later grow into the Apex Legends universe.